The sun hung high in the clear blue sky, casting a golden hue over the city, which had transformed into a lively spectacle in anticipation of the annual parade. Streets were lined with colorful banners flapping in the breeze, and laughter mingled with the sweet sound of festive music that filled the air. Families gathered on sidewalks, eyes wide with excitement as they jockeyed for the best view of the marching bands and floats that would soon weave their way through the heart of the city. As the parade officially commenced, a kaleidoscope of colors emerged from around the corner. The sound of drums echoed like thunder as a formation of marching royal guards clad in immaculate red uniforms and bearskin hats stepped into view. Their synchronized movements drew gasps from the crowd, each guard's posture crisp and regal, exuding an air of dignity that seemed almost otherworldly. Children pointed and cheered, many clutching cotton candy and popcorn as parents looked on with smiles plastered across their faces. The atmosphere was electric. It was a celebration of tradition, pride, and community spirit that brought everyone together. However, not everyone viewed this spectacle with admiration. In a nearby alleyway, crouched behind a stack of crates, was a gang of school bullies notorious for their mischief. They exchanged whispers filled with bravado as they surveyed the scene before them. Their leader, a boy named Jake with a cocky grin, caught sight of the guards and erupted with laughter. "Look at those guys. They think they're so important just because they stand there all stiff." With glances exchanged among his friends, Jake's mind raced, concocting a plan full of reckless daring. "I dare you guys to trip one of those fancy guards when they come by," he boasted. Intrigued yet apprehensive, his crew began to murmur among themselves, excitement tinged with nervousness. As other children around them continued to cheer for the guards, clutching flags and balloons filled with joy, the bullies felt a strange pull between wanting to be part of the vibrant celebration and their urge to disrupt it. The tension hung thick in the air as they plotted their mischievous stunt, unaware that this decision would set off a chain of events that would shake their narrow view of fun. In the shadows of the parade, Jake's gang of misfits huddled together, each one distinct yet united by a shared sense of rebellion. Jake, the ringleader, had a knack for stirring trouble with his sharp tongue and mischievous grin. At just 13, he had already earned a reputation as the school's notorious prankster, known for his quick wit and even quicker temper. He thrived on the thrill of making others squirm, often to the dismay of teachers and parents alike. Beside him stood Max, Jake's loyal sidekick. With his burly frame and an appetite for adventure, Max was easily swayed into following Jake's lead. Though not as clever as Jake, he possessed a fierce loyalty that made him willing to back up any idea, no matter how reckless. His infectious laughter often echoed through the hallways at school, masking an underlying insecurity that drove him to seek approval from his peers. Then there was Lisa, the only girl in the group who often surprised others with her audacity. She relished the attention her boldness attracted and had little patience for authority figures. Sharp-tongued and fiercely independent, she had an affinity for pushing boundaries and often dared to challenge stereotypes about girls. Lisa enjoyed hanging out with Jake and Max not only because she loved adventure, but also because it gave her a sense of belonging in a world where she often felt overlooked. Rounding out the group was Danny, who struggled to find his footing among such strong personalities. With a timid demeanor that clashed with Jake's boisterousness, he often found himself reluctantly swept along in their escapades. Deep down, Danny yearned for friendship but wrestled with his conscience about their antics, especially when they crossed lines into bullying or disrespect. As they plotted their next move against the marching royal guards, the thrill of rebellion fueled their impatience. The excitement coursed through them like electricity as they felt invincible amidst the parade's celebration. Yet beneath their bravado lay unresolved feelings, fear of being seen as weak or uncool among their peers, and an unrecognized potential for change that would soon be tested in unexpected ways. In a nearby park, the air tinged with anticipation, Jake's gang gathered beneath the leafy shade of an oak tree. The festive sounds of the parade floated through the air, mixing with the raucous laughter and chatter among their peers. Jake leaned against the trunk, his confidence radiating as he surveyed his friends with an impish grin. "You know what would be hilarious?" he exclaimed, his eyes glinting mischievously. "I dare someone to trip one of those royal guards as they march by." Max's eyes widened at the suggestion, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through him. You mean, like actually trip them? He asked, his voice rising in disbelief. The others exchanged glances, a mix of thrill and apprehension swirling among them. Come on, think about it. Lisa chimed in, her spirit for adventure ignited. Imagine how funny that would be. Those guys take themselves way too seriously. Her sharp wit often pushed boundaries, and now she found herself swept up in Jake's daring plan. Danny shifted nervously at the edge of the group, visibly uneasy about the stunt. Although he wanted to fit in, something about tripping a guard felt wrong. The looming figure of authority represented everything he had been taught to respect. Yet as he looked at Jake's animated face and Lisa's challenging smile, doubt gnawed at him. What if we get caught? He murmured, barely audible beneath their laughter. Jake shrugged off Danny's concerns with a wave of his hand, eager to downplay any fear that might hinder their fun. We won't get caught. Just one little trip. That's all it'll take to spice up this dull parade. Excitement bubbled within Max as Jake's exuberance began to quell his fears. All right then, he called out suddenly, gathering courage from his peers' enthusiasm. I'm in. The thrill coursed through them as they plotted their approach along the parade route, adrenaline riding high amidst boisterous grins and wild plans for chaos. Surrounded by the cheers and celebrations nearby, they felt invincible, the vibrancy of youth mixing dangerously with mischief. Unaware that this reckless decision was about to set off a chain reaction leading them toward unexpected revelations about themselves and each other. As the parade grew nearer, Jake and his friends positioned themselves strategically along the bustling route, hidden among excited onlookers. The scent of popcorn and cotton candy wafted through the air, mixing with the sounds of laughter and music. The crowd's energy was infectious, but the bullies had tunnel vision, their focus sharpened on their audacious plan. All right, here's how we do this, Jake whispered, drawing his friends closer to hear his instructions above the din. He pointed decisively down the street, where a line of marching royal guards was visible in the distance, their uniforms gleaming in the sunlight. When they get about 10 feet away, Max and I will create a distraction. What kind of distraction? Lisa asked, her brow furrowed as she sized up the guards' disciplined march. Just act like we're lost or something. Jake replied with a grin. You know, make a scene so they're not paying attention. Meanwhile, Danny, you'll be ready to trip one of them from behind when they pass by us. Danny's eyes widened in alarm at that suggestion, but he quelled his apprehension for the sake of camaraderie. Lowering his voice uncertainly, he said, What if it all goes wrong? Those guys are serious. Relax. Jake shot back, rolling his eyes. They'll just think it's funny. It's all in good fun. He flashed another confident grin that served to reassure Max and Lisa while pushing Danny's fears aside. Max cracked his knuckles nervously but nodded in agreement. Yeah, if they don't take it seriously, we'll be fine. The group settled into their positions, hearts racing as they exchanged anticipatory glances. As the drums of the parade grew louder with each passing moment, so did their excitement and nerves. Thrumming energy pulsed within them as they prepared for their moment of glory or disaster. The world around them blurred, families cheered, and children pointed at floats adorned with colorful decorations. But for Jake's gang, time slowed as their focus narrowed solely on the impending march of the guards. They could see uniformed soldiers marching with precision and poise, yet none of that seemed to deter the thrill bubbling within Jake's gang. Suddenly, as the guards came into view, tension crackled in the air like static electricity. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for, and all doubts faded away as adrenaline surged through them like wildfire. As the rhythmic beat of drums swelled in volume, Jake's heart raced with anticipation. The marching royal guards drew closer, their disciplined ranks moving in perfect synchronization, and a quiet hush fell over the crowd. Sensing the moment was near, Jake exchanged an eager look with Max and Lisa, while Danny stood slightly apart, caught in a swirl of nervous energy. Now, Jake hissed, and both he and Max stepped into the path of the approaching guards, feigning a heated debate about directions as they waved their arms theatrically. Laughter erupted from nearby spectators, unaware of the scheme as they turned to witness the commotion. Danny's pulse quickened. This was it. He shifted from foot to foot, wrestling with his instincts as he prepared to trip one of the guards. As the guards approached, their sharp gazes fixated straight ahead. He felt a momentary pang of guilt. Yet, as Jake and Max garnered more attention from the crowd, he reminded himself of the camaraderie they shared in this mischief. Just then, everything took an unexpected turn. Amidst the chaotic distraction created by Jake and Max, Lisa unexpectedly lost her footing while trying to peek around them for a better view. With arms flailing dramatically, she collided directly into Danny. "Oh no!" Danny yelped as he stumbled backward, inadvertently tripping as he struggled to regain his balance. In a split second, he reached out instinctively to grab Lisa for support, but instead grabbed hold of one of the passing guards' uniforms, just as they reached him. The unexpected collision sent both Danny and Lisa tumbling onto the pavement in front of the guard. The crowd gasped in surprise, laughter quickly turning into concerned murmurs over what had just happened. The guard, taken aback by this sudden spectacle, stumbled slightly, but managed to maintain his composure with military grace. With a shocked expression on his face, the guard processed what had just occurred while Jake and Max froze in disbelief, their master plan unraveling before their very eyes. Instead of rising to re-establish order, he turned to help Danny and Lisa off the ground. As the guard assisted them back to their feet, laughter rippled through the crowd, a mix of amusement at the chaos and hesitancy toward how it would end. What had started as a prank escalated beyond their control, leading to an absurdly tense yet humorous predicament that caught everyone off guard, especially Jake's gang. As Danny and Lisa regained their footing, the crowd erupted into a mix of laughter and applause, but the focus quickly shifted back to the marching royal guards. To Jake's surprise, rather than reacting with outrage or aggression, the guards maintained their composure, demonstrating remarkable discipline as they continued marching without missing a beat. The lead guard, a tall figure with a stoic expression, halted briefly to assess the situation. His eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the scene. Instead of reprimanding Danny and Lisa or expressing anger over the disruption, he simply extended a hand to help them rise. "Are you all right?" he asked in a voice that was surprisingly gentle yet firm, his demeanor radiating authority tempered with kindness. Jake, Max, and Lisa stood frozen in disbelief at the unexpected reaction. They had expected chaos, perhaps even an angry shout or a reprimand, but instead found themselves face to face with professionalism that felt disarming. The guards' unwavering focus on their duties only heightened the absurdity of the moment. "Get up and move aside," another guard instructed in a calm tone, gesturing toward the sidelines while maintaining his posture. The crowd buzzed with murmurs of amusement and admiration for the guard's ability to handle the situation with such grace. Danny looked over at Jake, his eyes wide with realization. "I didn't think they would just help us," he admitted, feeling embarrassed yet relieved. This wasn't how he envisioned their prank unfolding. Instead of feeling victorious, he felt something else, an odd respect for the guards who had handled everything so smoothly. As the parade continued, Jake felt a pang of regret mixed with confusion. Their intended prank had turned into an opportunity for humility rather than triumph. The bullies watched as the guards regained their formation and continued marching with precision, entirely unfazed by the antics of a few kids trying to disrupt their parade. For the first time, Jake began to question whether what they had planned was truly funny or merely cruel. The laughter from the crowd began to fade in his ears as he grappled with an unfamiliar sense of accountability, one that forced him to confront his actions and consider their impact on others. As the parade continued, Jake, Max, Lisa, and Danny lingered on the sidelines, their earlier enthusiasm replaced by a heavy silence. The vibrant colors of floats and the exuberance of the crowd blurred into the background as the reality of their actions began to sink in. They watched the guards march with unwavering discipline, each step echoing with dignity that sharply contrasted their earlier antics. "Did you see how he helped us?" Danny finally broke the silence, his voice tinged with awe. He didn't have to do that at all. There was a hint of admiration in his tone, one that surprised even him. Jake shifted uncomfortably, his mind racing. He had always prided himself on being the instigator, the one who pushed boundaries for the thrill of it all. But seeing the guards' calm demeanor after their chaotic moment made him reconsider everything. "Yeah, I thought they would be mad," he admitted, his bravado fading. "Instead, they just kept doing their job." Max nodded slowly, wringing his hands together nervously. I kind of feel bad now. It wasn't funny at all. It just made us look stupid. He glanced at Lisa, who had been unusually quiet since the incident. Her usual confidence seemed shaken as she stared ahead, lost in thought. Lisa's expression softened as she reflected on their plan gone awry. I guess I didn't think about how serious they are, she confessed. They're not just guards. They represent something important to people. We made a joke out of it. The weight of her words hung in the air as they each absorbed the realization that their reckless prank had implications beyond their immediate fun. They had disrespected not just the guards, but also the spirit of the parade and everyone who had come to celebrate. In that moment of introspection, the camaraderie that once felt invincible began to shift. Jake noticed that their shared laughter over pranks no longer felt like a badge of honor, but rather a reflection of immaturity. A subtle change sparked within him, a desire to be someone who uplifted rather than tore down. As the final float passed by, adorned with cheerful faces and smiling children, Jake felt an unfamiliar urge rising within him, the need to apologize, to make amends for their thoughtless actions. The lesson was clear. True strength lay not in orchestrating chaos, but in showing respect and kindness to those around them. Amid the fading sounds of the parade and the confetti settling on the street, Jake took a deep breath, his heart pounding with uncertainty yet filled with determination. "We should apologize," he finally said, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. His voice wavered slightly, but was resolute. Max looked at him, eyebrows raised in surprise. "Apologize? To those guards?" His tone was incredulous, as if he couldn't grasp the idea. "They're just going to laugh it off. It's not a big deal." "It is a big deal," Jake insisted, his mind replaying the guards' patient demeanor and kind words when they fell. "We messed with their duty. They're there to represent something important, and we made a joke out of it." Lisa chimed in, her energy shifting from bravado to contemplation. "Yeah, I felt really stupid afterward. They weren't just guards. They were showing everyone what respect looks like, even when we didn't deserve it." Her gaze grew distant as she processed the events that had transpired. Danny nodded slowly, his timid voice following Lisa's reflection. "I didn't think about how we might make them feel. I guess I just wanted to fit in, but now I see it wasn't worth it." He felt an ache in his chest recognizing his role in their prank. The discussion hung heavy in the air as they each considered their actions and motivations. Realization dawned upon each of them. The fun of being perceived as bold or wild paled against the clarity that came from acknowledging their mistakes. "We need to take responsibility," Jake urged again, glancing around at his friends who were starting to understand their connection to dignity and respect for others, even if it feels awkward or tough to face them again. Max rubbed the back of his neck nervously, but seemed convinced by Jake's sincerity. "Okay, so how do we do this?" "We'll find them after everything settles," Jake proposed. "We can tell them we're sorry for disrupting their march and show that we appreciate what they do." As they mulled over their plan, there was a palpable shift within Jake's group, a sense of camaraderie growing stronger through accountability rather than foolishness. By embracing empathy instead of cruelty, they felt not only the weight of regret, but also a glimmer of hope for self-improvement. The lessons learned today would ripple beyond this moment in time. These experiences would shape how they treated others moving forward, a chance to become better versions of themselves guided by integrity and respect for everyone around them. As the last of the parade crowd began to disperse, Jake and his friends lingered, their earlier nervous energy transforming into a resolute determination. The adrenaline that had fueled their prank earlier was replaced with a sobering sense of responsibility. Taking a deep breath, Jake led his group toward the cluster of royal guards, who stood nearby, still in their crisp uniforms, discussing the day's events among themselves. Each step felt heavier as they approached, the laughter and celebration fading into a distant hum. The guards noticed the group's approach, exchanging bemused glances but maintaining an air of professionalism. Jake could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He had never been one to apologize easily, yet today felt different. "Excuse me," Jake called out hesitantly, finally gaining enough courage to speak up as they reached the guards. The lead guard turned to face him, eyebrows raised expectantly. "We wanted to say we're sorry for what happened during the parade." The other guards remained quiet, turning their full attention to the bullies, clearly intrigued by their unexpected admission. Max stepped forward next to Jake, swallowing hard as he continued. We thought it would be funny to trip one of you, but it wasn't a joke and just made us look really stupid instead. Lisa then shifted her weight awkwardly, but spoke up as well. And you showed way more dignity than we deserved when you helped us up. We didn't mean any disrespect. Her words carried sincerity, and she avoided eye contact, ashamed of how they'd acted. Danny finally mustered enough courage to add his own take. I didn't think about how our actions might make you feel. I just wanted to fit in. His voice was small, yet earnest. The lead guard listened attentively as they each expressed their remorse. After a moment of silence, he smiled gently. It takes courage to admit when you've wronged someone, he said calmly. We appreciate your honesty. The relief washing over their group was palpable. They hadn't expected such a gracious response. The guard continued. What matters is that you recognize the importance of respect, not just for us, but for anyone in uniform doing their job. Jake felt a weight lift as he met the guard's eyes. Realizing this conversation forged an unexpected bridge between them, one built on understanding rather than disdain. They exchanged brief nods of acknowledgement, marking not only an apology, but also a lesson learned. As they walked away from the guards feeling lighter and more connected, Jake knew this moment would resonate with them long after the parade ended. They were not merely bullies anymore. They were young people learning about empathy and respect in a world that deserved both from them. As the conversation with the guards came to a close, an atmosphere of understanding settled over the group like a warm embrace. The lead guard, sensing the weight of the moment, took a step forward and addressed the bullies directly. You've shown a great deal of courage by owning up to your actions today, he began, his tone calm and reassuring. It's important to remember that respect is not just about authority. It's about recognizing everyone's role in our community. Jake felt gratitude wash over him as he absorbed the guard's words. Thank you for being so understanding, he replied, sincerity evident in his voice. We realize now that what we did wasn't right, and we appreciate how you handled everything so professionally. Max shifted nervously beside Jake, but found his voice. Yeah, and I never really thought about how our actions can affect others. I guess we didn't think about what it takes to do this job. He gestured toward the guards, who stood proudly in their uniforms. The guards smiled broadly, clearly pleased by their acknowledgement. Every job has its challenges and responsibilities, he explained. We may wear uniforms and stand at attention, but we're also human beings who value kindness and respect just like anyone else. It's our duty to serve with dignity, regardless of how others may see us. Lisa, feeling emboldened by this interaction, added, You guys really showed us that handling things with grace makes a difference. She glanced at her friends, grateful for their collective reflection. The other guards nodded in agreement, fostering a sense of camaraderie between them and the group of reformed pranksters. Danny felt lighter inside. No longer did he feel as though he was on the outskirts of friendship or self-worth. The collective decision to apologize had bonded them more than any prank ever could. Take this lesson with you as you grow, the lead guard continued, his voice steady yet encouraging. True strength lies in your ability to uplift others rather than tear them down. Always remember that kindness goes much further than cruelty. As they prepared to leave, Jake turned back one last time to brighten their farewell. Thanks again for being patient with us. We'll make sure to be better from now on. Walking away from the guards felt transformative. They were no longer simply kids playing pranks for laughs, but rather young individuals embarking on a journey toward becoming thoughtful and respectful members of their community, an experience that would stick with them far beyond the day's events.